Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rin. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. How are you doing? I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Today, let's do another episode of Facing Our Fears, but in a cozy way, and work on another full page illustration. I had to start this illustration over actually because I had tried to paint it on my actual sketchbook page and it just was not turning out well at all. The colors weren't blending well and it looked just not good. I don't know if that's just like a me skill level problem or because of using watercolor. I don't know, but I started it over. You're seeing my second attempt here on actual watercolor paper. I have gotten so spoiled now doing 2 illustrations on watercolor paper. I think I just need to buy like an actual watercolor paper sketchbook because it's just so much more enjoyable. Anyway, this painting was very much a lot of me not knowing how things were going to turn out and just kind of hoping for the best because I did a lot of things in this painting that I don't really know how to do. So I started with the sky, and while I was painting that, you saw I mixed in some pinks and some purples, and I didn't know like if that was going to look good or not. I just kind of had the idea, so I did it, and the sky ended up looking a lot more stormy than I had really wanted it to. But at the end of the painting, I'm really happy with how everything looks together. And like here, painting the mountains, I had done some color mixing with some purple and some gray, and I ended up thinking they were like too purple, so I mixed in more gray just right on the page. There were a lot of little things like that in painting this that I just was kind of seeing how things were working out, and they were very trial and error. I ended up using my vintage pastels palette for pretty much everything, and then just a tiny bit of some watercolor off of my Daniel Smith sample page, just a little bit of purple and a little bit of pink. But yeah, I ended up using one of my other water brushes. If you saw earlier in the video painting the field, I used the one with the flat tip just to try and make like it look like there were like variations in the height of the flowers and the grass, which that was another thing I didn't know how it was going to turn out when I was doing it, and I really thought that this was actually something out of my current painting abilities, but that ended up turning out a lot better than I expected it to, so I'm really happy about that. This also ended up making me think a little bit of Studio Ghibli. Like, I think the windmill made me think of Laputa, because there is a windmill, if I'm remembering correctly, in Laputa, which made me super happy. It ended up feeling like a very cozy illustration. So I had wanted to start painting flowers on this, and then I was like, why don't I just splatter the page and save myself like a lot of extra time and hassle? So I did that and was really happy I did that. And then here I'm just painting in grass. I did so much color mixing for this page. I think almost outside of like the pink and then like that darker mauve pink and the yellow, I think almost everything else is color mixed to some extent. And I also wanted to try and paint this and not fully blend my colors together, like doing the grass strokes like I'm doing here, and then also the flowers down at the front of the illustration. I was hoping to be able to leave some variation in color, if that makes sense, with my blending, like have a lot more painterly feel, which I don't feel like I necessarily accomplished in this illustration, but it was still a good practice to try and get better at that. I also tried to make this part at the front down at the bottom a lot darker and make it stand out more. My mom suggested that might make it look a little better, but because the watercolor paper I am using is too wide to fit in my sketchbook, it ended up getting cut off anyway, but it looks nice. Well, you can see it here in the video. I also was really nervous painting this cloud because I'm not good at painting clouds in general. I tend to kind of struggle with them, and the first two like shadows I put on the cloud were way too dark. I ended up trying to lift some of that color off of the paper by putting water down and then dabbing it with a tissue, and I ended up lifting some of it off, or covering some of it actually, with some white watercolor, so it was a little bit softer in color, which I was super happy about because it was just way too vibrant and stood out way more than I wanted it to. And then I just added just a couple highlights with my Posca pen. I didn't want to add too much on this. I was really happy with how it looked as it was. And then there on the left side of the page, you can see, oh my gosh, it's my awful first attempt. Don't look at that. Just look at me painting the tulips. This was the right side of the spread. These went so fast. And like painting something small like this on this sketchbook paper is great. I didn't have any problems, so I don't know if it was just because I was trying to paint the full page and really blend a lot of colors. I really was struggling with the original illustration. Like I said, don't look at the left side of the page. I know it looks really bad. These tulips were really fun to paint. I used all the same colors I used in my full page illustration, still just the Vintage Pastels palette, and then just lots of color layering. I feel like I've learned with watercolors, like the more you layer, the more variation you can get, and it just the more interesting to me it looks personally. And then I just went in with some different shades of green for the stem and different shades of pink for the petals. I wanted to do these tulips pink to kind of match the flowers in the field on the full page illustration. So it kind of looked like the tulips maybe had been pulled out of that illustration. And then I added some purple, some of the same purple I had color mixed already, and I end up adding a little bit of blue here in a minute as well, just for some extra pops of color, because that's something I enjoy doing so much. And then I ended up wanting to line this side, so I did it in my standard way of starting with pink or green, or excuse me, pink or blue or purple, and then adding in whatever two colors as just for added dimension. And then I wanted to just line a little bit of the cloud and just a couple other spots on this illustration, and then I went over it with my eraser to pick up any of the pencil from the original sketch, but also to lighten some of the colored pencil lines so they weren't too harsh. I wanted them to be very soft. And then I wanted to add some glitter because I'm me and I really love glitter. And this is how it turned out. I added a quote there on the side, and this is the finished product. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have anything you'd like to see me draw, let me know down in the comments below. I will see you later. Remember to be kind and stay cozy. Bye!